and we're going.
When you see something that is not right, not fair, not just, stand up and say something, do something. When my seatmate Albert Bigelow and I tried to enter a white waiting room, we were met by an angry mob that beat us and left us lying in a pool of blood. Some police officers came up and asked us whether we wanted to press charges. We said no. We come in peace, love, and nonviolence. We said our struggle was not against individuals, but against unjust laws and customs.
On that day, crossing that bridge, we were attacked, we were beaten, left bloody. I had a concussion. I thought I saw death. I thought I was going to die. But I think God Almighty kept me here for a reason.
We must not wait. Now is the time to act.
Do you have advice for young members or young leaders?
My advice is just go for it. Be brave, be bold, be courageous. Dr. King inspired us to get in good trouble, necessary trouble.
Generations from now, when parents teach their children what is meant by courage, the story of John Lewis will come to mind. An American who knew that change could not wait for some other person or some other time, whose life is a lesson in the fierce urgency of now.
So it doesn't matter whether we're black or white, Latino, Asian American, or Native American, whether we are gay or straight, we are one people, we are one family, we all live in the same house, not just the American house, but the world house. And when we finally accept these truths, then we will be able to fulfill Dr. King's dream, to build a beloved community, a nation and a world at peace with itself.
Welcome to Speak the Truth. I'm Gary Johnson, your facilitator. I would like to turn it over to your host today. He is the 2020 National Association of Black Journalists Pioneer Award winner. He's a legendary sports talk show host and radio icon in Washington, D.C., and a civil rights advocate and an advocate for children. So the one and only Mr. Harold Bell.
Thank you, Gary. Thank you so much. I wanted to run that video on John Lewis because I have two favorite videos that I like to run to start this show each Sunday, and that's something on John Lewis or Elijah Rogers or This Is It, This Is Us. That's what I like to run. And I wanted to run that video on John Lewis because John Lewis was a personal friend, worked on several projects with me with Kids in Trouble. In fact, he was really the force behind getting Earl Lord inducted into the NBA Hall of Fame when they had blackballed him. So I went to John Lewis and asked him to be a member of the Kids in Trouble team to get Earl Lord, the first Black to play in the NBA from Alexandria, Virginia, inducted into the Hall of Fame. John was for real. And you know, when I stop and I think about what they say about John being the conscience of Congress, well, when I stop and think about that, I think about 2021, that we cannot even get an anti-lynching bill passed. You hear what I'm saying? We can't get an anti-lynching bill passed. John Lewis voting rights bill is DOA, dead on arrival. We cannot get a bipartisan committee to investigate the riots on the Hill. We got a no vote Congresswoman, Eleanor Holmes Norton, can't even get statehood in the nation's capital. You know what, my thing when they talk about John Lewis being the conscience of Congress, Congress has no conscience. They have no conscience. So this show today, we're doing a do-over because I want, you know, to introduce two brothers who are working in the community and they're working on reentry, and they're doing it under the name of John H. Lewis, chapter of Prince George's County, really the DMV. And that's what the show is all about today. You know, I asked Gary to run a video on a little 6-year-old girl that went viral on TikTok because she was talking about how not to be racism. Gary, do you have that up?
In this world that you want to be, right? Don't daddy teach you that?
Yeah, and it doesn't matter if you're black or white or any color.
Doesn't matter if you're black, white, brown, yellow. Right? And how we treat people is based on who they are and not what color they are.
And if they're nice and smart.
See, this is how children think right here. Critical race theory wants to end that. Not with my children. It's not gonna happen. My baby's gonna know that no matter what she wants to be in life, all she has to do is work hard and she can become that.
Work hard even though you don't know anyone. You can make friends.
Yeah, you can make friends no matter what color they are. So we need to stop CRT. Period. Point blank. Children do not see skin color, man. They love everybody. If they're good people, they love them.
We pray for people that are hurt.
All right. That was fantastic. And the thing that I like about that is that we're seeing that type of leadership and parent leadership going on right before us here on Speak the Truth. Those of us who've been with us a while know about how Gary is raising his grandchildren, and especially one who has really become a star here on Zoom on Sunday. But the thing about that too, there's a big thing that's been going on about Joe Biden's son using the N-word on a laptop. And it's all over the place. But you know what? We can't even bother with that because you know what? That was taught in his home. That was taught in his home. And that's what we got to stop and think. That's one of the first things I did when I got involved with kids in the community. I gave up. I never really give up. I gave up on the middle school and the high school kids, but they thought they knew as much as I did. I started concentrating, my wife and I, on the elementary school child, because if you learn them at that stage, they never forget. So that's why, you know, this show today is so important because we got a great panel here with, of course, Gary Johnson being the facilitator, his son CJ Johnson. Gary, you can see everybody that's here. I want everybody to introduce themselves today. Let's do it that way because I miss people who I can't see. So I want to start off this show by at least introducing Charles Hopkins, who is heading this reentry program into Prince George's County and in the DMV period, and his walking partner, my dear friend, Sidney Davis. Charles, come in and tell us a little about what you're doing as far as reentry in the John H. Lewis chapter that you are incorporating in Prince George's County.
All right, thank you, Harold, and everybody that showed up. Basically, John R. Lewis chapter, Prince George's County, we're networking with other entities that are doing reentry work in PG County, and we're networking in the form of getting people that are in that space to come to a perspective of what reentry is, when do it begin, what it look like, and who's responsible for it. And we're trying to do this fact-finding mission now to try to get a consensus on everybody's perspective on that, in hopes that we can come up with a consensus that the current state of reentry is DOA, as you said, and that we need to do something to change that perspective, right? And that's why we're doing this follow-up show today on reentry.
Okay. Sidney Davis, come on in, Sidney. Tell us your role in this.
It's always appreciative to be amongst conscious-minded folk moving in the same direction toward the removal of some of the toxicity and racism and stuff that prohibits real core actions to deal with reentry from inside out. And so my role is to help in any possible way I possibly can to connect churches, to connect community, to connect families, so that we can mobilize and make what needs to happen for the better entrance of what reentry actually is in action. And so the conversation needs to be expanded, as Charles was saying, to other entities who don't have a real clear understanding of how reentry operates. I mean, it's a neon sign that says reentry, but cognitively, people don't know what that means. So we got to begin to mobilize the conversation to make it a present activity for people to understand it, to be a part of it, and to do different.
Okay. Jacques, why don't you come on in and elaborate, since you are a part of the reentry, you've already done your role, you've come back and you have become a successful businessman, family man. Tell us about a little difficulty that our brothers and sisters have trying to re-enter a society, Jacques.
Well, when I first got out in 1974, end of 74, beginning of 75, it's so long, I can't even quite remember the exact date now. But it's difficult because of this, what am I trying to say here? The stigma, right? I'm thinking stimulus, but ain't nothing stimulus about being an ex-con or reentry system, if you will. But people, will look at you strange. It's hard to get a job. I lied on applications. I got caught lying on my application in DC government, but because I was doing so well, they kept me on. They didn't fire me. They let me redo my application, because at that time, if you was an ex-convict, and that's what they label us. Of course, now again, please, Sidney, and I say please, brother and Charles, I know that that's not the term that we use today, and I'll try to get into saying a reentry citizen, but it is very, very difficult. But luckily, as I said last week, I was able to make contacts with people who believed in me, doing a television show about police brutality in PG County. Met a lawyer who hired me in the DC government, and from there I met somebody that was in the real estate business. And I ain't never looked back. I tripled my income the very first year I left the DC government. And it has been, pretty good for the most part. It's hard being a businessman. I mean, we all know that if you're in private practice of anything, no matter what your profession. But with that said, I'm thankful for everybody all over the country and all over the world who are trying to make it better for re-entering citizens, because they have so much to offer. There are a lot of people who have a lot to offer who has been behind bars.
Okay, thank you. I want to bring in our friend, the district attorney from Selma, Alabama. Of course, he's a regular here on the show. We missed him the last couple of weeks. I would like to bring in, of course, Michael Jackson. Michael, tell us, how are you guys handling this re-entry thing in Selma, Alabama? What are you guys doing?
Well, it's just so ironic that I signed the letter of support just within the last 3 weeks. Our partner in paroles board in Selma applying for a grant for reentry. And she came to my office and talked to me about it. And I said, well, it's a good program to try to get a reentry program going in Selma. I think reentry is dealing with a lot of things like, because I get a lot of people that have records come to me about things like a pardon. How do they go about that process? That's one of the major things. First is to try to see, are they eligible for a pardon on that conviction? And then, of course, they talk about employment. How do they need to go about getting a job? And then, of course, the other thing is some of them want to further their education. So it's a whole lot of things when you're talking about reentry, a whole lot of issues you have to deal with. But I want to emphasize again, the number one thing is dealing with their conviction, because a conviction can really hurt you the rest of your life and employment. And ever since 9/11, all of these employment, jobs, corporations, all of them do background checks on people now. And so what we've had experienced is people who have worked on jobs for 10 years, all of a sudden that record they had 10 years ago is starting to bite them, or 20 years ago. Things that were way back. But ever since, again, 9/11, they've been checking everybody's records on employment. So convictions are starting to pop up that people had forgotten about. Not completely forgotten about, but they had moved on with their life and it wasn't biting them, but it's starting to bite them now.
I want to say this. I want to let people know that our friend Michael Jackson has done some fantastic things in Selma, Alabama. And I didn't know myself because he's so modest. I haven't just read a story in USA Today about Jimmy Lee Jackson, who was shot and killed in 1965 by a state trooper doing a march on the jail down there. He was just coming out of a restaurant where where they were holed up talking about the march. When they came out the door, he was shot dead right there. He was maybe 18 years old, and nobody was ever convicted. Well, the state trooper that shot Jimmy Lee Jackson came out and admitted that he was the one that shot Jimmy Lee Jackson. Well, our friend Michael Jackson, who's no kin, got this guy convicted, got this state trooper convicted and sentenced to jail for 6 months. He got 1 month off because of surgery. But just to think, to convict a white state trooper 43 years later, man, I took my hat off to Michael, because, man, that was a man that really stood for something. And we need more Black men like Michael Jackson. Michael, thank you so much, my brother. Love you, man. Okay, let's go over to LaShawn Mosley. Come in and introduce yourself, LaShawn.
Good evening, everyone. Afternoon. I'm LaShawn Quander Mosley. My partners here are Sydney Davis and Charles Hopkins, so they've invited me to be with you. I've been working in the reentry space for the last few years, specifically in Prince George's County in the state of Maryland, but really with a focus on regional and national efforts around reentry. Through various conversations and channels, it was brought to my attention that we are very much lacking in reentry services and infrastructure in Prince George's County specifically. And so it's one of these things where you realize the injustices that extend beyond, any injustices that come through court sentencing and those kinds of things. We can put those issues aside for a conversation for another day. But after someone's served their time, it's amazing that, I say often for many, it ends with a comma instead of a period, a full stop. It continues post-release because of the lack of resources and services for individuals to actually make a successful transition back into community, to have the opportunity to become whole again with their families. And that's a serious thing. My interest is in serving youth, much like you, Mr. Bell. And I wanted to, I set up a nonprofit to serve children most at risk. And I looked at children in poverty and a few categories, but one of which was children with one or more incarcerated parents. And there just were very few partners in that space to do that work. So I'm very happy that I've since come across a number of folks who have a heart for this and want to do this work and make a difference. But it is about responding to an injustice. One of the groups I formed in Maryland is called the Reentry Work Group, and we're an advocacy group. We focus on policy, but also grassroots coalition building, and so that effort is growing. We have reentry work groups and reentry action networks forming in other parts of Maryland now, Baltimore, Montgomery County. And actually, we got word from Selma not very long ago. Interesting that we're on the line with Mr. Jackson, that they are looking to also set up a similar organization. Coalition is key, I believe, in addressing the issues and the injustices in this space. So we have to come together in coalition. We have to stay in coalition, and I think we can get a lot done. And I think John Lewis would agree with that.
No doubt about it. Thank you so much. How about, I'd like to bring in our other star of our panel. She just joined us, and I'm talking about Dr. Judy Fisher. She is a native Washingtonian, came out of Berry Farms. She has 4 degrees from Howard University. She's a minister. She's a jack of all trades, and she's a lady that's gonna take this coalition somewhere. Come on in, Dr. J, I call her. Dr. J, come on in.
Hi, it's a pleasure to meet all of you that I have not met before, and I'm glad to see one of my ministers that I had the pleasure of ordaining, a beautiful young lady who's in California, Reverend Carolyn Byers. And she is my partner in our plans to go to social media to address the inequities that we know exist. My awakening, now I did work with in a reentry program some years ago, but I was recently at the age of 80, reawakened by listening to none other than Trevor Noah talking about racism in the United States. I got so fired up. I had to calm down for a while because I was so angry when I realized that myself, being a minister and being in the church most of my life, how I had closed my ears to the underlying causes of racism and what it meant and how it applied to the Word of God. And I said, well, wait a minute. All of these preachers, all of these churches, all of these people who claim to be Christians, and they're violating the Lord's commandments in Matthew 25 when he says, when I was sick, you didn't visit me and whatnot. And I'm not going to preach. I just need to read this. When he answered, when they asked him, well, when did we see you sick? When did we visit you in jail? And so forth and so on. And he says, when I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. These are the positive ones. Let me just go with the negative ones. We know about the positive ones. And the people said, Lord, when did we fail to help you when you were hungry or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in jail? Jail, okay? The king will say to them, whenever you failed to help any of my people, no matter how unimportant they seem, you failed to do it for me. I said, oh my God, we're a bunch of hypocrites. So my job, my passion is to challenge churches everywhere, black, white, red, green, purple, if they're out there. What are you doing about this social injustice? These folks who have sinned, just like you and I have sinned, but they were caught and they served their time. What are you doing about their re-entry into our society? If there are 4,000 churches in Washington, D.C. alone, just imagine if 4,000 churches provided one bed for a re-entrant, that's 4,000 beds. So instead of lavishing money on fancy robes and beautiful wooden pews and high-tech organs, my God, get together. Each church can buy a small house, a 3-bedroom house. 4,000 times 3? Wow. Whole lot of beds out there. Even little churches, if they had to join in with other little churches, and that goes for my little church, to get a building or even to be responsible for the room rent of an efficiency for a re-entrant, that is doing God's will. Where is our hearts? We are like the church. I'm talking about the church. The churches are like those tombs that Jesus talked about in the cemetery. He said they are white as sepulchres with dead, rotting bones on the inside. I hate to say it, but that's the definition of the church. When you look at the word of God and see what we're not doing, I'm going to stop here because I get riled up. But my job is to wake up folks using the social media. I know they're coming for me, but I don't care. You know, they can't find me. I don't work for any of them. They can't take my home. It's my home. I got the papers. So I'm not afraid. I am going forward on that social media and I'm calling them and I want them to be able to call me. I want to send letters out to each church and say, how many beds does your church support for entering citizens? They probably won't even know what I'm talking about. Yeah. But that's my job. And it's a pleasure to work with these men who are so serious about what they're doing. And I'm always impressed because they know what it's like on the inside. I talked to Mr. Davis this morning, and I mean, it just broke me apart to think all of those years that he's come out and he's not bitter, but he's willing to do the word of God. I had such a fellowship with Brother Charles yesterday, and I am just blown away by their commitment to what they're doing and to the word of God. We have to acknowledge that it's sin. It's pure sin. It's carnality in the hearts of men and women that causes us to do all of these negative things that God never intended. But if we're going to be the church, if we expect to see heaven, yes, I do believe in heaven. If we expect to see God, we're going to have to start following his commandments. I'm finished.
Okay. Hey, Gary, you can see who's out there. I know we got some other special guests out there. Gary, will you bring our special guests in?
Yeah, we've got several special guests. We've got, this might be interesting from a deaf perspective. We've got Minister Jeffrey Bowden, who is a longtime career sign language interpreter who may be able to give us some insights from the deaf perspective. He's an interpreter. We also have CJ, we've got Reverend David Wolf, Anna Townsend, and as Dr. Fisher talked earlier, Carolyn Byers. But let's go to Minister Bowden.
Okay, you bring the rest of them in, Gary.
All righty.
Okay.
Well, greetings, everybody. Caught this message about 10 minutes ago and knew I had to get in on it. I got involved because of my interpreting. A good friend of mine, minister who had been working with the Kairos program up at Jessup, shared with me that he had been labored with both interpreting and being one of the table leaders. I'm not sure of all of the designated titles, but when you're inside, you don't have no titles. Everybody is playing on the same level playing field. So he said, Jeff, man, if you could come by and help interpret with me, man, I can not burn out and be a part of the growth, the insight, the revelation, the clarity, the camaraderie, the fellowship, the growth that these brothers go through for the weekend. And so after going through the rigors of being approved to go inside, I was able to participate the full weekend. And like any civilian, I call myself a civilian because there's soldiers inside. I'm a civilian. I come in not knowing nothing about anybody. And so I got through the rigors, I got cleared, and I got in, and my apprehension rate all went up. I mean, I got in the first gate and went down the hallway and got into the second gate, and left everything in my car, emptied out my pockets, took off my shoes, do all the things that you need to do to get in. And then they said, well, you just walk down this corridor and first room on your right. And again, my radar, because I say I'm directionally impaired, I'm going to make a left, I should make a right, and I might be in somebody else's space. So I was a little nervous. I said, brothers, y'all got to walk me over here a couple of times. I don't want to find myself where I ain't got no business. But once we got into the library, they have the two groups. One is the angels who are serving us, and they've been through the program. And man, there's a light and an aura around them brothers that makes it hard to digest. I mean, you just around some brothers who are sincere about elevating the circumstances and situations that are inside. I mean, really, really, just strikingly glowing brothers. And then you have the brothers who are going through the program, and they are, so I get into my table and there's 3 deaf brothers. And, the rules is, don't ask, don't tell, none of your business why, don't tell them how long, and none of your business, just do the program. So I'm interpreting, and I'm an observer. And I got a chance to do what I had had my heart to do back when I was a resident advisor at the School for the Deaf, when 3 of my young men were incarcerated for car theft. And I was not involved in their lives, and I felt like there was something about the system of incarceration that affects deaf brothers differently. Apparently, the state of Maryland had developed a sensitivity among deaf brothers, and so wherever you are in the state of Maryland, you all get centralized to Jessup, so that they don't have the isolation. It's one of the biggest issues for deaf brothers in the system and an institution, is that if you're the only one, then you're the only one. And there are a lot of things happen around you that you don't have privy to. So that isolation is like anything, it can be more maddening than just the whole time. You don't have anybody to talk to, nobody talks to you, the heightened sense of suspicion. So these brothers were together, and there were about 4, not 5 other brothers that were not a part of the program that weekend. So, as I'm interpreting, and my skills and my language and my comfort and who I am as a person come across with the brothers. And so now they're participating, they're doing the exercises. I mean, they're active, except for this one brother on the side who just stayed completely quiet the whole time. And there's something about Kairos from between Friday morning to about Saturday afternoon that's transformative. And that's when the brothers break out of their stuff. Everybody holds everything, cards close to their chest. They don't want to give up too much emotion. They don't want to talk about too much stuff. They just want to do the program and get the points. And then it hits them. And brothers have to be given that space to just explode when they talk about their children, when they talk about their wives, when they talk about their parents, when they talk about their lives. And that thing echoed all over the room. To the new ones, they were like, what's going on with my brother over there? He's having a whole meltdown. And they know that's healthy. Let them do that. And they stood next to this brother, and they kneeled next to this brother, and they prayed next to this brother. So going through the interpreting thing, the one brother had this scowl on his face the whole 3 days, 2.5 days. And he's just mad. And I know it wasn't me, but and then all of a sudden he broke out. And he said that there was no love in his family, that there was such apprehension about who he was as a deaf person, that a lot of the issues that he came because of his deafness. And I was uniquely touched, and at the same time, I recognized that I'm supposed to absorb this and process this, because this is not the last time I want to be with these brothers. And so lo and behold, Kairos was done. People got their crosses, they got their Bible, they got their celebration. It's a graduation. They go to the chapel. There's a group church nearby that comes in and has a church service. And it's a step in the right direction. Like I say, I'm a civilian, so I don't know a whole lot. I don't want to speak out of turn. But the brother called me again and said, well, Jeff, I know I got you for Kairos, you interpreted that, but I need you for something else. I said, what do you need? He said, I usually do a sign language class for the brothers in the block that the deaf brothers are. The hearing brothers want to learn sign language. They want to learn how to talk to their brothers that are deaf. And so if you could come up on Fridays, that's when I usually schedule, my hour with the brothers. Can you just take over the class for me? And I said, yeah. So Friday after Friday, I drove from Clinton, Maryland, near Wilson Bridge, all the way up to Columbia, past where Jessup is. Went through the rigors. Now I'm on my own. And in a small sort of classroom setting, we talked about communication, but we also talked about how communication takes place. And the deaf brothers were part of the teaching with me. I don't believe I do anything outside of the expertise of deaf people. They are the language expertise in this thing. So to say all that is to say that my introduction to incarceration and deafness, both in literature, because I have several books on it. I haven't written them. There were people who wrote them. There's actually a language system, a vocabulary inside for deaf people that they have. There's signs for guards, there's signs for COs, there's signs for mealtime, there's signs for violent acts. I mean, they have a whole new vocabulary that people on the outside that are interpreters or deaf people don't know nothing about. And then there is the whole idea that the deaf community is so tightly knit that you don't come out with any level of anonymity. Everybody knows. People have been talking about you since you went in. People talked about you before you went in. So you come out and you already got that stigma. Stigma on the one community that you have any allegiance with, any language connection with, any relationship with. They don't want nothing to do with you. They suspicious of you. They don't trust you. Of course, rumors and lies get created about you, and they can't live that down. And if you come as a deaf person to a totally hearing family who never took the time to learn sign language, family reunions, Thanksgiving, what I'm gonna go there for? Can't nobody talk to me. I don't know when grandma died. I don't know when uncle, got shot. I don't know. Nobody told me. One dude said, I found out the same day of the funeral that my brother died. No one told me. So the idea of what we're talking about now as far as reentry is not new. It's not really, how do I say, I have not explored that enough. And I moved from Maryland down here to Florida. So who knows what God has plans for me, because where there's deaf folks, there's life. And where there's life, a brother's going to be on one side or the other. I mean, nothing escapes deaf. Drug abuse, alcoholism, marriage, having babies, graduating from college, trauma, all that happens to deaf people. They're not, they're not immune to it. So who knows where this conversation is going to lead me as far as reentry. But I do know that there has to be space for it in the context of access to services like a brother like myself who can interpret the programs, the interviews, the counseling, the reporting in. There's going to need to be a sensitizing and elevation of the brothers to come out to understand, yeah, you're not going to have the same friends you used to, but you can survive. Y'all gonna have to be my teachers on this.
Brother Jeff, you done packed us up. You done packed us up.
So that's my introduction, and that's my involvement with deaf people. And thank y'all for listening to me.
Hey, thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Yeah, we may have to bring you back. We gotta.
Yeah, man, that's fantastic.
But those are the insights that we would never have. We never,
Right.
So we had to bring you back. We got Reverend Wolf. What say you?
Unmute myself. Well, again, just honored to be here and really hope I and we at Samaritan Ministry of Greater Washington can contribute. That's what SMGW stands for. And again, if you missed it the first time around, great thanks to Charles, who I recently connected with. And I mean, we're working with returning citizens, but the bottom line is we want to work with a whole lot more. And what Charles and I talked about is the fact that the connections for returning citizens, the network is is not connected, and government's involved and all that, but it's just not working. And we're living proof of that is because we have extremely impactful training. This is, sort of reentry, soft skills, employment training, and real options, but it's not being fully taken advantage of. So we want to be in partnership, collaboration with folks like yourselves to really have a much greater impact. I think Charles said something to the effect of, we take an extremely holistic approach. We're faith-based, and so that's I really appreciate the words of Dr. Fisher and others who have spoken to the church's dereliction and being more practically and even theologically responsive to returning citizens, following Matthew 25, indeed. And I'm a minister, obviously, Episcopal priest, but we're wagging the tail of a pretty big dog that has not been fully responsive over the years in our church, in our denomination, and others. But that's part of the mission as well. So we take a really holistic approach that is not just about employment, but focuses particularly on employment and education, which are central. We do less with the legal process, but that's part of it. I'm actually a recovering lawyer myself, formerly in the Justice Department years ago, and so glad to work with those of you who are lawyer colleagues in that regard on that part that could get Samaritan more involved in that aspect of the work as well, like Michael and others. So I think I'm going to stop there, and I'm glad to engage with questions and what have you, but looking forward to the continuing conversation.
Okay, CJ, you and then we come to Ms. Towns and Reverend Byers. What say you, CJ?
There was a lot said, and there's a lot I could follow up on, but I think a great point that I want to follow up on is what Dr. Fisher made about the churches and maybe the disconnect and why young people are a lot less into the church community and into religion, because as she said, there are some good churches doing good work in terms of in the community in these critical areas of reentry in terms of doing work for the actual community, but that seems to be the minority. A lot of churches are tax-free businesses and tax exempt. I don't want to say cults, but there are different interpretations for what could be said. And like I said, that's not for all churches. That's not to say that there's nothing good to offer, but that seems to be, you see these mega churches, you see these people with insane amounts of money, but they're not really contributing to the issues that could actually help the communities at a grassroots level. And also beyond that, we talked about John Lewis and some of these bills that are dead on arrival. And I wrote an article this week that you can check out on blackmeninamerica.com about pretty much why everything is going to be dead on arrival for the rest of Biden's administration, and why they really just don't, the people in power will never invest in these issues. As we said, it's an allocation of funds and budget and resources. And as long as the rich and powerful are the ones who allocate those resources, they're not going to allocate them in places that don't serve them. So that, I think that's the problem that we have to try to square in issues like this, like reentry, like other issues, any type of criminal justice reform, because at the federal level, nothing's going to get done, at least the way things are structured now, especially with the Democratic Party not willing to even put up a fight or even try to reform anything. So they're not going to get anything through regular order of 60 votes when the Republican agenda is to block everything that they do. And they've said it publicly, we're just here to block you. So there's nothing to go there. So it has to be done at a grassroots level from the ground up, and to try to fight the big money and the resistance from the people that actually have all the power and all the capital, I think is the huge problem that we have.
Okay, thank you, CJ. Ms. Towns, you've been waiting patiently. If you can just unmute yourself.
Okay. Good afternoon. What a blessing it is to have been invited by Sidney Davis to join this meeting today. Sidney and I go back many years, I guess the early 90s. So I know about his commitment to service in the community. As he always says, he's trying to keep the bread fresh, and he's always involved in trying to look at, as he calls it, the dis-ease in the community and things that we can do from where we sit. No one can do everything. As each one of us have, as each of you have mentioned your areas of focus, no one can do everything. And I don't think that we should feel responsible for doing everything, but everyone can do something. And that's why I'm so glad to be with you today, to refine my focus on how can I be more effective in the community. As I say, here am I, send me. Where is he sending me? I'm open to learning that. I'm actually in Montgomery County. I'm a member of the NAACP's Veterans Committee, and I'm also a member of the National Association of Black Veterans, NABVETS. I'm in private practice as an attorney and social workers representing veterans with service-connected disabilities. And while that is a very important area that I'm doing, I'm also concerned about other aspects of veterans' lives, as even in the veterans' courts, where many of our veterans, before they enter these systems, are entitled to services to be diverted from the criminal justice system, and yet because of lack of information, they find themselves there. So I'm really interested in the intersection of criminal justice, veterans, and of course, as Dr. Fisher said, the church. Now, how I see the church, I've been members of the church for all of my life, and I'm still seeing the church as the place where we can gather and worship God together. However, I think that the churches are in place, but it takes people like us to go to them to help them to understand the need for their roles in the community necessary, and giving up the whole focus of what my church is doing, what yours is doing, but looking at the general needs in the community and how the churches are there to serve that need. And yet over the years, they apparently have become diverted from their path. So I'm very happy to be learning so much today, to be a part of you. Hope that I can continue and hope that I can work with the various ones of you looking at how we can better serve the needs of the people in the community. Thank you.
All righty. This is great. Is it Reverend Byers?
Yes.
You have the floor.
Thank you. Greetings from San Diego, California. I so appreciate everything that I've heard. As a protege of my dear Dr. Judy Fisher, I want to say this in a way that you'll understand where I'm coming from. God has given me this journey of trying to understand the madness that we're experiencing today. And what he has shown me is that there's a thing that we're experiencing is called American Christianity. And what I've discovered is that American Christianity is anti-Christ. And I say that because the teachings of Jesus, those of us who are following Jesus, understand that Jesus is all about redemption and restoration. And as followers of Jesus, we should be engaged in bringing redemption and restoration for everybody. And what we're experiencing in this American Christianity, which I'm studying to find out, it has nothing to do with Jesus. But I am determined to be a true disciple of Jesus. I appreciate your comment, CJ, because it's so true. As a follower of Jesus, or there's two forms of Christianity. I wrote a treatise on this a few months ago. There's American Christianity, and there's authentic Christianity. And so what I'm committed to is being an authentic follower of Jesus and
Oh, we lost the sound.
Yeah, I know in some places there's some thunderstorms going on. So I don't know if that's
capacity.
Oh, there she
And that's what this is all about. And I so appreciate what you're doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. So Mr. Bell, back to you. That's just about everybody, I believe.
All right, we're getting down to the nitty gritty. I want to kind of close out by going all the way back, and I want to start out with of course, Michael Jackson. Kind of close out, man, and give us some idea how we can support you in Selma, because it sounds like oh, it's Carolyn. Carolyn's out there. Who is that, Carolyn?
She just spoke.
Okay. Is that Carolyn just spoke? Okay. So anyway, I want to go back to Michael Jackson to kind of close out and come back in with Jacques. So Jacques ready after Michael. Michael.
Well, I think this was an important topic today. Reentry, like I said, it's something that have to happen more and more as people's backgrounds are checked and employers find out that people have convictions. And so we have to figure out how we can reintegrate people back to society where they are productive, where they're able to provide for their families and that type of thing. And one of the major problems is a lack of information that people generally have. If you have information, that's powerful. And it's just a lack of information. Things like pardon the process is not explained to defendants. They never hear about it from their attorney. That one day you're gonna get out and you need to think about that process. So again, information, we gotta somehow get information out.
Thank you so much, Michael. Jacques?
I just like to close by saying that you have to have a plan. If not, you plan to fail in life, no matter what you do. I do believe that you have to take advantage when opportunities come your way, and you have to see them. And it may not, get you all the money that you want or all the recognition that you want, but sometimes it's a slow grind. And sometimes nowadays too, it can be very quick. It can be overnight. You look at these people, the sports figures, and which is very dear to you, Harold, of course, and people on TikTok, which I don't know who that's dear to, that they get on, they do these crazy wild videos. And no offense to none of the ladies, but it just seems like a lot of these females think that's a new quick way to get rich. But I also think that it dumbs you down too. I think it's nice to see that so many people all across this country are now realizing, because of the disease, and to me, going to jail in a lot of cases is disease. Look at all the people that go for little or nothing and spend all this time in jail, and then somebody, or in prison, and somebody can rob and take, like the other day, they had a white guy, I forget his name, he was a mortgage broker, had this lady's house and conned her out of it, got sentenced to 8 years. But her whole life is ruined. This lady's in her 60s. Daughter was on TV, crying, man, that, she's lost her home. So, those kind of crimes still, to me, are never, ever forcefully taken care of, or justice does not come. But yet you can send a guy like me for $81 armed robbery that got split 3 ways, and I served 3 years in the penitentiary. Nobody got hurt. But then here's somebody that can take $800,000 from someone and ruin their lives, and get a pat. And I always like to say a pat on the, and I'll be respectful, a pat on the derriere, since I'm French. But anyway, with that said, I'm gonna stop right there.
Okay, thank you, Jacques. LaShawn? We're closing out, LaShawn. I know you're there.
Well, how we treat, those in our communities who are, we consider to be the least of us, or those on the fringe of society. It says a lot about, society. In dealing with Prince George's County government, we ask the question of, is reentry in the budget? And the budget tells you what the priorities are of a community. and how the dollars are spent, right? And who's being served by those dollars. And when our current county exec came into office, $0 were in the budget for reentry, which says the level of priority that that these issues are given. So again, it says a lot about the community, how we're treating those who are most in need. And so I think it's really important, and everything that's been said here today, all very important things. How we share information is key. But again, I think for me, it all boils down to, once again, forming coalition. Network matters, right? And coming together and working with our churches. And that's one of our activities or initiatives that we're working on now in the Reentry Work Group, is to reach out to the churches and help them understand how to get involved with reentry. I do agree that so much of what we have to do, as we are, those of us who are aware of the issues, we have to do the job of educating the broader community of what the issues are and helping everyone else to see their role in resolving. So that coalition matters, and it's just starting really for me and for folks in this area. But I invite you all to join in, because we're better when we're together. Thank you. No matter where you are in the country, we can work together.
Amen. CJ, come on back in, CJ.
Yeah, just to piggyback off of the last 2 points that were made, especially from Mr. Chevalier, of like where the resources are, of where people spend the money. Just a macro level example of kind of what the story he was sharing is a report came out about the billionaires and how much taxes they pay this week, and that Jeff Bezos paid $0 and 0% in taxes. He gets government subsidies, he gets money from taxpayers, but he pays no taxes, and then he pays his employees starvation wages, so they have to subsidize their wages on welfare. So we're paying for his starvation wages so he can make the profit. Elon Musk, other big billionaires, they're all in like 0.3 taxes. And instead of the Biden administration responded to that, and instead of saying, oh, we're going to figure out how they're evading all these taxes, they said, we're going to find out who leaked the story. We want to figure out how they found all these people's tax information. So we're going to go after the whistleblower who made this information available to people, rather than and spend resources on that, trying to jail them instead of figuring out how these billionaires are avoiding their taxes. Again, it's priorities. You can see people's priorities in their budget and in their agenda and what they try to do. So no matter what they say or what they try to spend, you can see, the numbers don't lie.
Gary, we want to save Sydney and Charles for last. Can we bring in Mr. Wolf and other?
Yeah, we can bring in Reverend Wolf and then Minister Bowden.
Sure. So I think I want to build on what LaChawn just said. Our language for it. She said we're better together, but doing together what none of us can do alone, either as individuals or institutions. What might be helpful for you all to know is that, so my full-time ministry is running a nonprofit. I'm the executive director of this organization, but this organization is a partnership of over 65 congregations. So they're mostly Episcopal, but they're all over the DMV. And so we've always been committed to partnership, but especially in this regard, I see lots of potential there for us to do together what none of us can do alone. And I just look forward to practically and strategically getting into it, and how we can, especially in from where we're coming and the conversations I've had with Charles, how we do the reentry work, especially in terms of empowering returning citizens as they come out.
Okay.
Minister Bowden.
Definitely feel honored to be among you all today. I thought by leaving Maryland and coming down to Florida, I would close a chapter in my life and get on to something a little bit more relaxing and luxurious. And then like Michael Corleone and Godfather, can come out, you keep pulling me back in. So I'm being blessed by this gathering, and I already know that God didn't give me this opportunity to be with you all without a plan and a purpose. So I got a feeling He's up to something, because God is always up to something. So I want to thank you all for sharing. To the brother Charles, I know y'all got that thumbs up for Kairos, man. That thing blessed me more than I don't know how we blessed the brother, but that thing blessed me enormously, man. So we both know what that's all about. So I just want to say thank y'all for keeping me on in the fight, because I could have been up there by my pool right about now.
Okay. Ms. Towns.
I'm just blessed to have been a part of the group today, and I just hope that you would keep me a part of your networks. And I would encourage you to please think of veterans, particularly African-American veterans, and their needs as a subset of the broader picture. And, you know, I'd welcome any opportunity to partner with any of you with the work that you're doing. Thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of this.
Okay, that leaves Reverend Byers, and then we go for Charles and Sydney to bring us home.
And we got Dr. Fisher too. Don't forget Dr.
Oh, Dr. Fisher. Well, who can forget Dr. Fisher?
Unmute yourself, Doc.
Dr. Fisher?
She's muted.
Doc, come out of mute, Doc. Wow, I can't believe she's on mute. Well, let's move on to somebody else, Gary.
Okay, let's see. We had Reverend Byers. Are you? There we go. Okay, Reverend Byers. You can.
Fisher's unmuted.
Okay, I'm unmuted.
Okay.
I want to thank all of you for coming on today, and I can see how each one of us can work together, and especially you, Attorney Towns, with the veterans. I think that is a perfect match, so we can take advantage of Veterans Administration funds as well as others. And well, anyway, it's a blessing. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure listening to Minister Bowden. And, you know, with video and whatnot and Zoom, you can teach right there from your poolside. So just get your lessons prepared. God bless each of you until the next time. And thank you, Carolyn.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. It was just great. I learned so much from you today.
Thank you. Thank you, Don. Thank you. Let's come on in with Charles and Sydney.
Yes, I want to thank everybody for this conversation. As we said earlier, right, that this is the beginning of the coalition building. LaShawn speak on that, and this is the strength of this whole concept. It say, when I was in prison, you visited me. So we are right now, we're calling out the right people. You know, we're calling out the sermon that Pastor gave today without Matthew 8:18, where they dug the hole in the roof to put the man in front and say, are you doing enough? And they didn't, he said they didn't wait on Jesus to come to them, they went to Jesus. And so that's what we're doing. So this right here is an affirmation of that we're taking the fight. We're taking this problem, like the sister just said, we're taking and we're going to authenticate who Christ is, the blood of the Lamb. We're going to authenticate the blood of the Lamb.
Amen.
Blood, you can't buy it, you can't eBay it, you can't ebook it, you can't do none of that. It gotta be in your heart. And so this is where we're at today. And we thank everybody. We appreciate, especially thank Harold Bell for opening space up for us. Yes. So y'all be seeing more of us.
Okay, Sydney. Sydney,
just to insert a few pieces about the foundation of, as Carolyn was saying about the Antichrist and the demonstration of the resurrection in terms of where we are, about re-educating and realigning ourselves with the core values of doing what we are instructed to do, as the word points out. And then they had an opportunity where the Holy Spirit moved in. Because if we are one mind and one accord, it is an impossibility for us to be stopped, denied, interfered with, reject. We keep it moving. So I'm truly thankful for this fresh opportunity to be at the table, receiving fresh bread for growth, for development, for renewal, for understanding, and for demonstrating. And the word became flesh and dwelt amongst us. Amen. Keep the bread fresh. I want to thank LaShawn, Dr. Fisher, Anna Towns, Minister Bowden, everybody who participated. Charles, he's doing a tremendous job. You know, I just want to say that Charles can sing. We ain't had nobody to sing, but he a bad.
Oh.
Okay, Gary.
My brother, man. So to God be the glory.
All right, Gary.
I'll keep it short. As the founder of blackmeninamerica.com, I can tell you, I just had an idea to start this whole forum and this website and this online magazine when I was flying home from Las Vegas the day of the Million Man March. And it was just one person. And that's how I did it, with no marketing, nobody else. I just got a book on this new thing called the internet, and look at it now. So my thing is, one person can make a difference.
Amen.
One person can make a difference. And that's what we're doing collectively.
Amen.
Mr. Bell, back to you. I yield my time, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. I just wanted to say, man, you know, we thought we had blown it last week when the program was deleted. We said, man, that was one of the greatest programs we had, and we deleted it. How we gonna, you know, come back from that? And I think we did that today, man. This information here and the people that we had, fantastic. You know, I'm pretty proud of what I've been able to accomplish these 50 plus years. 2022 will mark 50 years of broadcasting my sports talk show, Inside Sports, 2022. And of course, I'm doing a book on my family history. I'm trying to do all that, trying to do Zoom. But you know, it is so fulfilling when you got people like we have had on this show today. You know, I think about all the people that I got out of jail as a sportscaster. I got over a dozen guys out of jail, early releases as a sports talk show host on AM radio. And just stop and think. I wasn't on CBS. I wasn't on 60 Minutes. So a lot can be done, man, when we come together. And that's what it has to be all about. It has to be about teamwork. And that's what I'm about, man. So I am so proud of the people that we've been able to gather here on Speak the Truth, Zoom Sunday. It has gone further than I ever thought it would go. I just want to go out with a little piece on me, what I've been able to do on my 50 plus years as a sports talk show host. Thank you guys so much. And just remember, you cannot soar with eagles if you hang out with chickens. Don't hang out with chickens.
Woo. All right, Mr. Bell, this concludes our show. I'm going to have to edit that piece, that feature on you at the end of the show when we edit it.
Okay.
Because I don't have it, but this concludes us. This show will probably be ready by tomorrow on blackmeninamerica.com. You can send it out. You go to the link, send it to your friends. This is how we make connections. This is how we do it.
Yeah, don't forget Black Men in America. You can get a lot of information from Black Men in America, not only on Zoom on Sundays, but there's a lot of great information on blackmeninamerica.com.
And CJ's article is on the homepage. Okay. All right, everybody. Stay safe.
All right.
Till next time.
Meet everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Now, from the playing field of Banneker to the locker room of RJ Stadium, it's Inside Sports with your host, Harold Bell.
Well, Harold has been a crusader for the rights of Black people all of his life. He has also been a crusader that have had a lot of friends, not only in the Black community, but the white community in sports. And he's one of my friends over the years. We've done many things together. So Harold is truly a man that believes in his culture and his people and will always be that way because nobody's ever been able to change him. So, hey, that's my partner.
In the sports world today, everyone claims to be an insider. Harold Bell is the original insider. Washington Times sports columnist Dick Heller says Harold Bell is the godfather of sports talk, the good kind. He played message music such as Wake Up Everybody by Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, What's Going On by his homeboy and friend Marvin Gaye, and the James Brown classic Black and Proud. He was the first on-air sports talk show personality to write commentaries and the first to host sports media roundtables. Harold Bell is the man for all seasons. He was the first sports media personality to involve pro athletes, politicians, judges, entertainers, and media personalities in his community endeavors. In November 1974, he became the first Afro-American to host and produce his own sports television special in prime time on NBC affiliate WRC-TV4 in Washington, D.C. His special guest, the greatest, Muhammad Ali.
And they say that friendship is like our shadows. They're sticking with you as long as you're in the sun, but once you cross over into the shade, the shadow disappears. How do you distinguish your friends? Well, I read somewhere that says, friendship is a priceless gift that cannot be bought nor sold, but its value is far greater than a mountain made of gold. For gold is cold and lifeless, it can neither see nor hear. In time of trouble, it's powerless to cheer. It has no ears to listen, no heart to understand. It cannot bring you comfort or reach out a helping hand. So when you ask God for gifts, be thankful if he sends, not diamonds, pearls, or riches, but the love of real true friends. Inside Sports with my main man right there. Inside Sports with the knockout. I'm Harold Bell. In 1972, I discovered and found a radio sports talk show format that will change the way we talk sports in America and around the globe. I check out my good friend Harold Bell and Inside Sports. Talking about a real champion, Harold Bell and Inside Sports. And with us in Washington, Harold Bell, a pioneer in the field of sports talk radio and TV. Mr. Bell has known Don King for more than 20 years. Hi, this is Don King for the undisputed champion of sports talk. You must turn to my man Harold Bell and the original Inside Sports. He was a Major League Baseball player telling a reporter that he don't know anything about Jackie Robinson. Well, this is the ignorance of what's going on. Not only the Major League Baseball players, many people look at it, this is the form of entertainment. We have to look at it as a way of life for those who are in the struggle that's trying to get economic fulfillment and becoming part of the mainstream of the American economy.
I'm Robert Hooks. Being a native Washingtonian and a dedicated sports enthusiast, I naturally became an early fan, follower, and ultimately a lifetime friend of the city's legendary sports journalist and broadcaster, the bold, the inimitable Harold Bell, my friend HB. He's a true unapologetic maverick and rightfully one of DC's sports reporting icons, truly.
Sports personalities, Inside Sports and Harold Bell